Hey everybody, it's Master Gallengeist here, bringing you my review for the latest episode of Supernatural Lebanon. And this was a big one. This was the 300th episode, and it didn't really feel like that. Now granted, I don't need giant grand spectacles, but it just didn't feel right. Connections for certain things, once you saw them, kind of made more sense it was going on. But as I was watching this, they made a big thing of John Winchester coming back. And I thought that was going to be the main focus of the episode, but it was more of the circumstances around him coming back. And even then, it was more of a bottle episode, but it didn't start off completely as a bottle episode. It did hit on the themes that Supernatural is usually being dealt with, of like family business, saving people, hunting things. But it's like each of those things was just put into a box and was brought up, and just to show that, like, hey, yeah, this is what it was about and all that kind of stuff. I'm like, okay. I know that doesn't, it's really kind of weird because there's a portion that deals with, okay, saving people, hunting things, done. And then we get to the family stuff, and then it's usually that kind of stuff usually intersects. I kind of wanted to see John either been involved in kind of a hunt and seen stuff done with that way, or dealing with the whole Michael situation. That did not occur. It was just really kind of strange. So the beginning of the episode starts off, and they're coming into this shop, and they want to get into the good kind of stuff. And they're like, oh, all right, yeah, I'll take you back into my back room. And he's got all this crazy stuff floating around. He's got this weird ass teddy bear. He's got dragon's breath. And I gotta say, I did like that. And I'm like, okay, yeah, we've got this dragon's breath. It's gonna kind of be used. But they bring up that they were wondering if he had this certain skull. And they bring up that a hunter friend of theirs had it, and that they saw that he'd been cut clean in half. He starts trying to use the dragon's breath on him and kind of like messing with him. Dean gets kind of thrown back. And he's got this sword that is like really super sharp. And it's got like magical properties for that. And kind of pretty much cut clean through something in like one swipe. Making the joke that it might take a couple swipes to get through Sam. And the thing is, I kind of liked was that the sword was kind of patterned off a scimitar similar to Indiana Jones. And of course, they have left Dean long enough time, and this dude's been monologuing enough that Dean, as he's getting ready to like chop down on Sam, shoots him kind of indie style. He's like, yeah, that dude talked too much. I'm like, hey, yeah, let's kind of deal with this kind of stuff. Dean, of course, playing with the dragon's breath. I'm like, oh, okay. And I'm enjoying this, but I'm going, where's this leading? Now, granted, I don't need to be led handheld throughout what's going on. Be like, see, this is where we're going to be going. And I'm just like, okay, let's see how this connects. But evidently they were like gathering everything, and they put it in the Apollo. And they find out that one of the items that this dude had was this Chinese pearl that could pretty much grant a wish. And I was like, dude, this could help out. I was like, ooh, but see, there's things going on with that is like a heart's desire, not a complete wish. It's very kind of specific on that stuff. So they kind of roll into Lebanon. There, you see Dean talking with this dude in this bar, and we're like, ah, yeah, the usual and all that. And we see this group of just stereotypical teens. And one of the teen dudes is just like going on and on, pretty much about the legend of Sam and Dean without knowing who they are. And it's because they had parked the car and they went off into the bar. And we see this one girl, this blonde-haired girl, is into this other chick, and she likes the car, and she decides to steal the car. And I'm like, it's pretty bad when you get to a point like, you've stolen baby, you all deserve to die. Never mind that there's supernatural hoodoo in the back that could completely and utterly screw someone over, which of course these are stupid stereotypical teens and away. So we continue on this path. They notice that the car's gone. They're trying to figure out what's going on. They get tracked down the kid. Say, hey, what? The kid's name's Max. She's new. I don't even know her last name. Ah, don't kill me, kind of shit. It's like, what? Whatever. They go to the post office. Sam is trying to get the information, but of course he sounds like a like serial killer stalker kind of dude. But Dean, of course, wilds in and pretty much puts the moves on this granny. I'm like, yeah, he knows how to use that. But they find out where the mother is. They go into the restaurant. They find out from the cook dude in the back that it's skip day and that they're probably having a party in an abandoned house. This is even before we get to John Winchester's part. We continue on, and I'm going, okay, we're about getting the 15-minute mark. What's going on here? Like, okay, let's see how this kind of connects. They get to the house. We see that the teenagers stupidly have taken all the stuff out of the back and are messing with it. One of them is a cigar box that holds John Wayne Gacy's spirit in it. Oh, joy! Serial killer clown dude. I say that, I was like, okay, that could be really used really effectively. Especially since Sam is fucking afraid of clowns. We only get like one jump scare and no deaths. It's like one kid goes in the bathroom and the spirit messes around and is like, oh crap. He's running out of the building as Sam and Dean pop up. He's like, said he saw a ghost. He's like, alright, FBI, everybody out. They deal with the box. Sam's like trying to light the cigar box on fire and is having trouble with his lighter. He sees it. Dean gets knocked back, but they're able to light it on fire. And of course, the three stupid teens come in and see that as that happens, as they explain monsters and everything. Okay. And they get back, and they see the stuff about the pearl. They research it a little bit, and they have Dean use it. We do get back to those teens in Lebanon later on. They use it. Bunker goes crazy. Someone pops up, and we see it's Papa Winchester. And once that kind of gets on to effect, I like what's going on, because he's like, what the hell's going on? He's like, why are you here? It's 2003. Why aren't you in Palo Alto? And evidently, it had granted his true heart's desire of having his father back. Coincidentally enough, if the pearl is so powerful, since it's one of the ancient Chinese treasures and wonders, I would almost think it would be easier to bring him back to life now than incidentally reordering time and creating a time travel thing that really is not well executed. The success and failure of time travel storylines usually gets down to the nitty-gritty of what are the rules and what's going on if you adhere to those rules and how you break them to a certain extent. This was just kind of weird, and Supernatural has done time travel stories that actually work better than this one. But this is 2003, John Winchester, they give him the lowdown, and of course Mary comes in, and that's really kind of cool. You just see John having a drink with his sons, learning everything that they've done over the years, and just being like, wow, man, I really wish I'd been there to see it. And then you see Mary come in. It was really awesome to see this. I'm like, why wasn't this, like, this should be the focus. And granted, we've gotten this in the middle. I'm like, But they're kind of dealing with everything. Sam's like, Dean, we've got issues here. Like, just let me have this, all right? He's like, all right, cool. And they decide to pretty much have a dinner. And, of course, John does remember that time that they tried to make Winchester, the special Winchester dinner. And him and Sam have a really nice moment. And he's like, John's trying to apologize to him, but he's like, listen, that's another lifetime ago. The only thing I remember is seeing you pretty much dead on the floor. Like, we're good. And just seeing the emotion on both of their faces is really nice and just really cool. Like, okay, they both kind of have that kind of closure. We also get one with, like, Dean and John. And it's cool to see those kind of moments. but it's like, all right, yeah, this is cool. Just kind of getting the lowdown and seeing what's going on. But, of course, since they're trying to have a dinner, Sam and Dean decide to go out and get food. What occurs is that none of the people really remember who they are, and we see that there is a wanted poster for Dean as pretty much a serial killer, and that Sam is internet famous. Now, granted, the joke of Sam having his own law firm and being internet famous, kind of like Steve Jobs, and talking about kale chips, and essentially being an even bigger kind of douche, was funny. But the thing is, it opens up this whole can of, are there two versions of them, and will the timeline correct them to them being those versions, or what's going on? Does Dean still have Michael in his head? Because that even brings up another kind of point that comes in a little bit in a moment. Because it would have been funny if they were transforming into these alternate versions where Sam would start eating kale chips and just acting more douchey, and like would suddenly pop into a like turtleneck sweater. But that's not done. I'm like, you have so much potential with this. So what occurs then is that evidently in this 2019, the apocalypse never occurred. Which I thought was like kind of the whole big issue, because later on at the end of the episode when they're talking about pushing off this information on someone else to save the world, I thought they were going to be going through with that plan no matter what. Granted, understanding that certain other people would have to be used to break the seals and confluence all the events to the cataclysm that would needed to be. But it was just kind of crazy. It's like, it's 2019 and they still hadn't like affected their plan, because at one point we see that Castiel and Zachariah pop up. Zachariah making a funny Constantine joke to Castiel. They're going, something's going on here time-wise, and they try and go in and they pretty much threaten these people that they're going to do kill them and everything. But of course, Sam and Dean come in. They kind of start getting their asses handed to them. But Sam's able to kill Zachariah, and then Sam's able to also banish Castiel. And they're like, okay, this isn't good. And they kind of give the lowdown to John and Mary, and Mary's really shaken up about it and all that. And they decide to have one last meal together. And it's really kind of cool seeing them do that. It's cool that the family portion was such a big focus on the episode, but I felt that it could have been done. I mean, it was very well done, but I just wish that that had been more of the focus, and that we didn't have these endpoints that kind of like, okay, what's going on here? Because Sam, of course, brings up that they could give John information, but then Dean's like, I'm alright with the choices that I make. Okay, cool. And the thing is, Zachariah and Castiel did not sense the alternate version of Michael in Dean. It's plot holes, pretty much. I don't know if it's like, oh, okay, since they're trying to acclimate to this timeline, he never got alternate version Michael in there. I don't need it completely like shouted, but something needed to be kind of done with it, because if he didn't have Michael, then all of their memories and everything should have been pretty much done. Like, there wouldn't have been a paradox. Like, well, there would have been the paradox of John being ripped from the timeline in 2003, but they would have been shifted around. It, again, not being clear with what the timeline, time travel thing is. Whatever. But they're able to send John back, and everything is alright. He wakes up in 2003 saying he had the craziest dream, and we see Cass come back in and ask what happened, and of course they got a story to tell him. Now, I did like that we got John back, and he definitely seemed like John. He didn't seem crazy or anything. It was nice to have Jeffrey D. Morgan back as John, and just seeing him interact with Sam and Dean, and them just to be so grateful that he was there, and just see Sam kind of have that closure, and have Mary have just that little bit of time more with John, and have Dean just have his dad back. And when you're like, your heart's desire, it's like, your heart's true desire isn't to have Michael out of your head and be to have your dad back. That completely falls in line with Dean's character. I just wish there had been something more done, like Sam, Dean, and Mary and John go on a hunt because they have to go do something with that. Or I thought it would be going something like this way. Now, granted, it would not be good, but it would fall in line with what we've done of that he's brought them back through some kind of means and learns about the whole situation and decides to take it upon himself to do this thing again for Dean and have the alternate Michael within himself, have himself locked within the coffin, and have sacrificing himself to save his sons and the world again. And just going to show the complete runaround that this family always does of one person trying to sacrifice themselves for the greater good and the other one's trying to stop them from doing that or trying to figure out another way to do it. I thought that would have worked better and worked more thematically with what was going on. This was a really weird one. It was really disjointed. The whole thing with the town and the teens felt very superfluous. I get that it was needed to show the time divergence of John being ripped from 2003, but I even think that if you had just made the whole bunker the setting for the whole thing, you could have had different weird things of like phone calls coming in or them seeing stuff on the internet or on TV that would have shown it better without taking as much focus away from what was going on. It's just, this whole season's been really weird. And that disjointedness just really felt powerful in this episode because it's like, there's good stuff here, but then there's other stuff that just needed to be better executed or more finely woven into what was going on. I don't know. This is not a horrible episode, but when you put in the factor that it's the 300th episode and John Winchester returning, I expected it to be better executed. Not that it was complete shit, but that it just better executed than what we actually got. So now that this is done, we have to see what other stuff that we're going to learn going forward to how this is going to resolve itself. It looks like we're going from the previews, we're going to get the fallout from Jack continuing to use his powers and have his soul pretty much go away, which could possibly lead to the interesting choice that if Jack burns his soul away and coldly calculates Michael's too much of a threat and decides to kill Dean in order to take Michael completely off the board, maybe, but we won't learn about that until March because they decided to take another break. I'm like, we kind of just got back from one. My only thing was, I'm like, where's this lining up? What new not sport thing, but like, what sporting event or whatnot's, okay, it's a pretty long break. So, it'll be a little bit. So those are my opinions on the episode. Tell me what you guys think in the comments below. If you liked it, if you didn't like it, if you agree with me, if you disagree with me. Also like and subscribe, and I hope you have a good day.